Hello, welcome to the Huntley Experience. My name is Jason Huntley. This is a new series for our channel where we are going to start posting videos hopefully on a weekly basis. And these videos are going to be about the waters we have fished that past week. These videos will mostly take place in southern Alberta. So if you're an Alberta fisherman, you're definitely going to want to subscribe and check these out. But they will also be useful for people that fish for the same species we're fishing for, such as pike, walleye, and perch, mostly. We'll have some whitefish tied in there. We'll do some lake trout fishing and other trout as well. So another part of doing these videos is that I've noticed the videos that I shoot while we're out fishing, I have a bad habit of not talking to the camera and telling people why we're doing certain things. So I figured that this will be helpful for everybody, and then we'll tie in some videos as well with these of our day trips. That way you can just watch the catching action in one and then the technical stuff maybe in the other. This will also include information like water clarity, thickness of ice, since we're ice fishing right now, weather conditions, fish counts, what the bite was like, what we used, what worked best, how the day went. So let's get into it. We'll start with the lake conditions. We were fishing Lake Newell out by Brooks. So weather wise, it was a beautiful sunny day, probably +2. Great day to be on the ice. We were on 9 inches of ice, and I would say about 7 inches, maybe 6 inches of that was nice, good, clear ice. The top layer was not the best, but still plenty safe to be walking on. The water conditions in themselves was about 4 to 5 feet of visibility. And then after that, it just got hazy and you couldn't see anything. And we know this because we were fishing with an underwater camera in holes that were right on the edge of where it would get murky. And that was in that 4 to 5 foot range. Now into the fishing content of this. So the bite was steady. It wasn't super fantastic. We were getting hit a lot on our tip-ups. As soon as we set up the tip-ups, they started getting hit. We were using 2 kinds of bait. So first kind was 5 to 6 inch herring. And then the other kind was minnows, just your standard minnows. And we would put those on a jig. The herring was set up on quick strike rigs. The herring was the dominant bait for the day. They hit the herring quite often, even giving us some false flags, just tapping it, but they were showing a lot of interest in it. But the minnows came in for the win at the end. I think we caught about 5 pike and 1 walleye and missed a bunch of other fish in there. We were also jigging in the shelter. So because of water conditions, the visibility was the best so far that we found this year. But when it's in that murky kind of condition, I like to use baits that make noise. So lipless crankbaits are excellent for that because of the rattle in them. Now, some will rattle, some will thud. The ones that I was using are from Newell Lure Co. And I'm not sure exactly what the brand of crankbait that he does use, but these are custom painted. But they have a really nice thud to them when jigging them. So they bring in fish from a long ways away. Now, sometimes the fish will want that thud, and sometimes they want that rattle. So if I try one and I don't get anything on that, I'll switch to a different noise to see if we can get something different. But the thudding was definitely working because we were getting attention brought into the shelter. One of the fish actually came in, hit my bait super fast, just come charging in basically. Took off with it. It was a big girl. I do have underwater footage that will be in the video that is from that weekend. It ended up tangling up in my Aquaview camera and snapped off. So I lost my custom painted lipless crank, which made me not very happy, but they were working. So you could sit there and rattle them in. You didn't have to just dead stick, which was very interesting for the day, because I know that our last trip out, on a different body of water, but the last trip was all about jigging and dead stick was doing nothing. But this trip out, dead sticking, such as tip ups and rods and rod holders, was the key, was the majority of the bite, but also jigging was able to bring them in. But we had a lot of misses with that and a lot of misses on both sides. So now we'll get into the fish and what we caught them on. So, and this is the landed fish, not any of the missed ones. The majority of the landed fish came in on herring. That would have been 3 pike were landed on herring. And that was, actually, I think there was 4 pike, so we must have caught 6 pike. But anyway, 3 or 4 pike were on herring. They came in, took the baits, swam off with them. We watched them spin for a bit, set the hooks. Good catches. One was small, probably in that 28-inch range, somewhere in there, maybe even 24. Then the other ones got a little bigger, so we got up to probably about a 30 and then a 35. These are just guesstimates on length, but I have a pretty good idea. Now, the last 2 fish of the day were the highlights for sure, and it ended up creating 2 PBs for 2 different people. Dad's Fishing was out joining us for the day, and we had one of the tip-ups set up out there, and we'll get into that. So these jigs, Big Sky Flies and Jigs, these are the perch babies, and these are one of my favorite jigs to sit out and use. I'll put small swim baits on these, and I'll bait these with minnows, and they work really well. So this bait here ended up on a tip-up with a minnow, landed Dad's Fishing, his new hardwater PB, and that pike was 41 inches and 19 pounds. And then as the sun set and we got into the evening, we knew we see walleye where we were quite often, so we figured we'd get a walleye bite. And sure enough, my daughter, who happened to be watching one of the tip-ups that was giving us false flags, heard one of the dead stick rods go off outside, and she went and grabbed it, set the hook, and she set her PB for walleye at just over 5.5 pounds, and I think it was 26.5 inches. But the being over 5.5 pounds was a new PB for her. So that was pretty cool. And that was on little jig with a minnow. And we had all those big baits out there, and it was the smallest ones that caught the 2 biggest out of their species. So big baits don't always catch big fish. Big Sky Flies and Jigs, they're the only ones that I run for jigs. Fantastic job, great quality, great paint jobs, and glow is fantastic. So here's a little bit about that Newell Lures lipless crank that I lost. It was the same style as this. This is another custom painted one that he did up for me, and I got him to do this one up in a carp pattern. So, I mean, it could be whitefish, could be minnow, but it's kind of carp. So, and I know that there's a lot of carp in these lakes now, unfortunately, but I do believe that the pike are actually keying in on them and eating them. So this is kind of a test run to see how we do. But the nice thing about this is what has worked really well with these for the last couple of trips has been the way that they make noise. So I'll do this so you can hear it. So it's kind of a thud. It's not much of a rattle, it's more of a thud. And they like that. It's a great bait. So if you're interested in getting anything custom painted, there is a few guys out there, but I have to say that Newell Lure Co. did a great job. You can find them on Facebook and Instagram. That was pretty much it. So it was a very interesting day. It was a lot of fun being able to jig them and get attention and dead stick them. So the day went great. It went as expected. I was hoping to get into some big walleye and some big pike, so that was awesome. Worked quite well. So I hope you guys liked this video. We're going to try to do these, like I said, on a weekly basis. Unless we don't really have anything good to share, then we might skip a week here or there. Or if we're fishing the same waters for multiple weeks. But that doesn't usually happen with us. So most likely you'll hear about 1 or 2 lakes a week if we're out and about. But thank you for joining us. Please subscribe and like. If you have any questions, please comment. Let me know if you'd like to know more information about something. If it's something that I can show in a video, such as rigs, quick strike rigs, stuff like that, please comment below. Let us know what you think. Thank you for watching.